This ain't no Planet of Heroes. Not anymore. Salutations, Cinemasochists, I'm Darkest101, and welcome back to this, your last review of Double Dip December. God, I hope this got us out on time. Might I say, everyone is looking rather handsome today. Borderlands 2. Back to Pandora, back to vault hunting, back to gunplay on the barren alien planet. Only this time, things are a little bit different. And boy howdy, do those differences make for an entirely different experience. I mean, the opening cutscene to Borderlands 2 just shows how different the game is right off the bat. I mean, sure, we have the familiar Scar getting run over by a vehicle, but the minute our playable characters show up, things change very quickly. The Vault Hunters are immediately set upon by robots, so instead of having them passively introduced to us, we see each Vault Hunter put their skills and abilities to use, letting us know exactly what kind of gameplay we can expect from them. It also goes a long way to show how this is a much more narratively driven experience than the first one. I mean, the first game opened up with the Vault Hunters just chilling out on the bus. This time, they're nearly blown the fuck up by this game's villain, Handsome Jack. And all of this helps serve as a much more compelling and interesting setup for a multiplayer and single player experience campaign. I mean, you're not just going after a vault this time around. If you're playing alone, well then you're going after Jack to avenge all your Vault Hunter buddies that Jack just murdered in the opening cutscene. Playing as a group, great, you're going after Jack to get revenge for him trying to murder you all. The game also shakes up where you first end up when you get to Pandora. I mean, in the first game you wind up in a dusty little desert town, but in the second you're on a frigid glacier. Everything gets shaken up, and I love the way the glacier looks. I feel like a repeat of your typical wasteland planet we've seen 1,000 times over. This all helps set the game apart from not only the first installment, but from a lot of similar looking settings we've seen so many times in the past. And instead of throwing some icy skag at us to deal with, we're instead introduced to a brand new enemy type in the Bullymuggs, further expanding the bestiary in Pandora and showing once again how the enemy types just continue to become more and more varied in this game. All of these things help add to the character of the planet Pandora itself, whilst the game goes a hell of a long way to add character to the people who live there. We constantly get little snippets of conversation from all the allies we've ever met throughout the game, and then we also get taunts and threats coming from our villains. I mean, yeah, we still get the front-loaded quest accept screens where most of the NPC dialogue is. That still doesn't change the fact that NPCs do get more dialogue in this game that add to give them their own unique personalities. And nowhere is that more appreciated than with Claptrap. Ah, Claptrap. How did you go from being so painfully forced to being so incredibly funny? Most of Claptrap's new personality seems to stem from the fact that Pandora is now a totalitarian regime under the thumb of Hyperion, and that while the people of Firestone from the first game were relatively kind for Claptrap, everyone on Pandora now seems to universally hate the entire line of Claptrap robots, making them the butt of all jokes and literally the building blocks of Pandora. And throughout all of this, Claptrap becomes one of the funniest characters through his pure, dry-witted depression. Something about hearing that upbeat and happy voice talk about how broken they are inside is so dissonant that I can't help but laugh at it. And then, we have to consider the game's villain, Handsome Jack. It's hard to say if Borderlands really had a villain. In some respects, towards the end you did have rival Vault Hunters coming after the Vault 2, but by then they weren't really well established, and relatively speaking they were more serving as rivals than true villains. In this game, we start off with Jack actively trying to kill us the moment the game starts, and, upon discovery of our survival, offers to pay us for killing ourselves, and then places a bounty on our heads to prevent us from searching for the vault as well. And all of this, while Jack taunts us, mocks us, and introduces us to a horse made of diamonds he names Butt-stallion. Before I talk about how this game looks, I must point out that I did play this on the Handsome Collection, so anything I say here might not be reflective of the original version of the game. So keep that in mind, okay? Having said that about the Handsome Collection though, this game looks crisp and awesome. It's like an evolution of the style from the first game, but still retaining that comic book cel-shaded style of the graphics that helps Borderlands stand out from the rest of the pack. And again, This game has an absolutely mental amount of guns for you to use. Like, the number of guns at your disposal in Borderlands 2 is absolutely mental. Again, I'm playing the Handsome Collection, so I'm fairly sure you start off with some fairly decent guns, but despite that, you can easily find a bunch of weapons just lying around the place in order to give you tons of options to fight with. Do you hunker down to find some low cover to take pot shots with a sniper, or do you just run in with an assault rifle and just blast everyone to shit? And the passive abilities that you get in this game to complement your gun skills are just as fucking amazing. I'm not entirely sure about all of playable characters, I've only played as Zero so far, but for me the various different abilities you have access to are way too varied, and you have really got to consider how you spend your skill points when you want to level up. Seeing so many different ways to specialize your character the way you want is just so much fun. And for the most part, Borderlands 2 is an amazing single player experience as well as being a fun multiplayer game as well. With a more single-player oriented experience, a brand new experience from the moment we start the game, and yet still plays and acts very much like the original Borderlands, a much richer and fuller and more purpose-driven story and world, Borderlands 2 is simply a better game in every sense than the original Borderlands. And it gets bonus points for making Claptrap an actually likeable character. Borderlands 2 is quite honestly a great little Christmas present at this time of year, especially that opening on the glacier. I mean, we are kind of bereft of snow at this time of year. But with all that in mind, Borderlands 2 improves on everything that was the original Borderlands and also adds new elements that shake up the formula a little bit to make it an even better game. Borderlands 2 is everything Borderlands should have been, and that makes it brilliant. And that makes it get a Dart rating of 86.
Butt-stallion says hello.
And that concludes Double Dip December for this year. I think I managed to get everything uploaded. I mean, if these Borderlands reviews don't go up before Christmas, then consider these your Christmas reviews for this year. But yeah, thank you so much for watching Double Dip December on Darkest101 Reviews. I've been Darkest101. You've been watching Darkest101 Reviews. Thanks for watching. Merry fucking Christmas.